Okay guys, I'm just doing a one-arm handstand session today. I'm going to keep myself honest by going live. I can ask questions as I go as well. So just warming up at the moment. As you can see, my one arm is very rusty at the moment. So the goal is increase sessions. Going to be training one arm most days now. So just to try and get back some consistency with positions and just a bit more volume. So normal deal with the Q&A style live sessions. So if you've got any questions, just sing out as we go. I'll try and give you a little bit of a guide to the one-arm handstand if you're working towards it, just as I do it, especially because I'm revisiting as well, because I just haven't been hitting the one arm as much as I'd like to. So I sort of keep it maintained. I don't do enough though. So the goal for 2023 though is to get a 60-second one arm on the right-hand side and a 30-second one arm on the left-hand side. So we'll see what happens. I did train it yesterday on floor. Just done basic straddle positions yesterday. Today I'm going to play more on the blocks and do different positions. So probably a lot of diamond work just because I find that very comfortable. It's very similar diamond as well, straddle. And diamond is very similar to the straddle position in terms of hip placement and the body being one piece, and the connection between the feet helps that body to be one segment. So I find that really helps. If you don't know much about my one-arm training, my right-hand side is much stronger than my left. I can normally hit a one-arm handstand nearly every time on the right-hand side, but the left-hand side needs a lot to warm up and it's very inconsistent. So my goal is to bring up that left side, make it stronger. As you can see, I can muscle that right side quite a bit. You'll see the elbow will come away. I can bend that elbow. I can play around a lot more than I can on my left-hand side. The left-hand side is more of a sweet spot that I need to find. Sometimes the left even looks much better than the right, but I can't hold it. So there won't be much talking on the left-hand side sets, but the right-hand side, I can normally have a conversation on that side as well. Hey buddy, how you doing? Let's just, nothing to sweep the floor with. We're still on the building side at the moment. Across the road from us is all sand, it blows in. We can see the sea and it all blows the sand across. Comes into the garage, so this floor's all sandy. I can't find my brush. Should I still practice skills even when fatigued? I'm actually a big fan of doing the balance work when you are fatigued as well, and not just doing it when you're fresh. It sort of stops you using too much strength. So you just got to think you want to have a certain quality in what you're doing. So you need to sort of ride the edge of that. Obviously, if you're learning the handstand and you fall out of the handstand all the time because of fatigue, then you're probably better off stopping. But if you can find your balance window when you're fatigued, I think that's a good thing. So I would definitely sort of play with that. I've heard it's hard to maintain one-arm handstand, more so if you have a break from training. Yeah, definitely. Like my one-arm handstand has definitely dropped off. I used to be able to kick to one arm on the right-hand side nearly every time, and I'd probably get like a 5 to 10 second hold on the left, like every other, or 1 in 3. Now it's like 1 in 5, 1 in 10 on the left-hand side. And let's have a look, see if I can kick to. I've done like 2 sets though, so we'll see what the warm-up is like. But I'll see if I can kick to one arm on this right side. No, So I need that fingertip to go down. So I can hold the right. It's there, can change position and don't really fall out. It's a bit messy, but if you watch the left-hand side and move so you can see, because Rosie's in the way. The left-hand side is very inconsistent. So that's what a typical hold on the left-hand side. So really I should be doing fingertip holds, get some conditioning back on that left-hand side. Yeah, I mean, I feel like my pull-ins dropped off a little bit as well, just from not training it as much. It could be the reality of my age as well. It's kicking in now. You know, I'm 46 now, so maybe I don't maintain as much. I don't know. I'm sort of lucky in the fact that I do coach. So I'm coaching most days. Like I've done 3 Zoom sessions this morning. So I've been demonstrating to people handstands and things. So that does maintain a certain level when you're demoing all the time, both in face-to-face sessions and online stuff, and then just making YouTube videos and things. So that does help me. I've never really, you know, I've done handstands every day for the last 9-10 years now. So yeah, I think I'd probably have to take quite a while off for there to drop off completely. Yeah, so how do I start one-arm handstand training? I saw a picture of Ido Portal in a one-arm handstand in December 2013. I think my max hold then when I saw a picture of him and I was like, okay, I want to get that one-arm handstand, and decided to start training it every day going forwards. That's when I started the handstand 365 and thought I'd have a one-arm handstand like within a month. Obviously reality kicked in and I realized that there's a lot of training involved in it. I had, when I started, then I had a 13-second, I think was the longest I can hold in that first week, 13-second 2-arm handstand. And then I don't know what everyone does. I started to play with the one-arm handstand way too early. But I think there's some benefit in doing that unless you take away from your 2-arm training handstands. So I definitely do your 2-arm handstand work and then add in some 1-arm work if that's a goal, even if you're playing around on the wall or playing on blocks or doing other things like that. I think it's worthwhile. And then I started doing online coaching with Ido. So that was back in Feb 2014, I think I started with him. And then I reached out to other hand balance coaches who were a bit more specific on the handstands, Yuval and Miguel, and people like that, and just started to practice as much as I could and get as much information. There wasn't as many YouTube videos and coaches and that then, so it was all like searching and experimenting and messing around and finding what works and what didn't work. So I'm just gonna, so with that left side, I'm just gonna hold fingertip for 10 seconds or so. But I recommend, if you want to go down the one-arm handstand journey, that you play with blocks, play with canes, play with the floor, just experiment with lots of different techniques. There's a lot more people teaching it now, but you need to find your way of learning it because there's so many thousands of repetitions that are needed. If you just follow one technique or get stuck doing perfect technique all the time, I think a lot of people just drop off and stop training it. So I try and make it fun while you're doing it as well, whether that's block walking or using different surfaces or different techniques and just experimenting. How much time does it take to learn the one-arm handstand? It took me about 18 months. I think 18 months to 2 years to get my first 10 seconds on the right-hand side. and then another 12 months after that, I think, to get my 10-second on the left-hand side. So most people would say taking 18 months to 2 years to start to feel like they're getting the one-arm handstand. But some people get it quicker, some people it takes much longer. It all depends on flexibility, consistency of training, how strong your two-arm is before you start, and just how quickly you pick up on stuff. Okay, let's see if I can kick to one arm on that right side, do something fancy on the right, and be sensible on the left. Oh, not if I kick the parallel bars or the dog. So you notice that elbow, you need to really focus on pushing the left elbow in towards the midline. Keep me there. Yeah, if you have good handstand balance, then definitely I'd start exploring it quickly. I'm not a big fan of using the wall too much. A lot of people, I think, go on the wall too much when they're learning. You could play with the wall, but who I learned with, they said no wall at all. But you can start playing with that to get some conditioning in the one-arm position. And then just playing with weight shifts and then starting the process very slowly, just trying to get holds in each of the steps. Flagging over, weight shift, trying to get a little bit of fingertips, and then just holding in positions for 5 to 10 seconds on each side, and then slowly progressing to that next level where you're decreasing the amount of help in the assisting hand. Did you notice carry over to your two-arm handstand? Yeah, definitely. Like obviously, just to get into a one-arm handstand, you'll kick it into a two-arm handstand. So the amount of then repetitions that you're doing in the two-arm handstand just increases dramatically. So two-arm handstand then becomes more of a rest position. So yeah, like two-arm handstand, especially with coaching as well, because I was coaching more and more with a two-arm handstand. So demonstration and just the sheer repetitions of the two-arm work. You can see the consistency. I don't think I've fallen out of the right-hand side, but this left is a nuisance. And I'm trying as best I can, obviously doing it live and messing around with lots of different shapes and stuff, but I'm trying to be as honest as I can and try and come back to two-arm handstand between every set. That's a good technique to try and do instead of trying to ride the one-arm handstand for too long. Obviously, if you try and tricks and messing around, then you're going to fall out. But if you can try and catch and come back to the two-arm handstand, that's a better place to be. I'd like people to have a consistent 60 to 90 seconds in a two-arm handstand before they go to one-arm handstand. But it all depends. I'd rather see someone have very consistent kick up than like have a 5-minute two-arm handstand. I think, 60-second handstand whenever you want to at the start of every session is a good place to be. It just shows you've got good control. But I'd rather you be able to kick up 10 times in a row and catch every handstand. And also just being able to lock your position in. So what I mean by that is if you've got a body that's trying to balance with your legs and you're like waving around like this, a one-arm handstand is going to be so crazy to learn. But if you have a very rigid position, it doesn't have to be a clean, dead straight line, but like a rigid one piece, then it makes learning the one-arm handstand much easier. So it's not like a straight pass and fail, I don't think, but most people would say 60 to 90 second two-arm and 10 consecutive kick-ups whenever you want to would be a good way to do it. Some people like people to have a press. I think it helps having strong shoulders, upper back, to do some bent arm strength, some handstand push-ups, press work, but it's not a necessity. I've seen in person one-arm handstand performers that have their one arms just blows mine away, but they could hardly do one handstand push-up. So I don't think it's a necessity, but it demands a cleaner position. So I'll try and do a super clean one on the right hand side now. So nice strong straddle position. As I transfer weight, I'm pushing the right elbow, shoulder in towards the midline. And now when I lift the left hand, I'm going to push the shoulder down towards the floor. A little bit too much movement in the hip and leg then, but now you'll see I can get into a good position on the left, but it doesn't have the room for error that the right has. As you can see, it just doesn't feel strong enough at the moment. How much time to take to learn a handstand push-up? That's, again, really tricky and very specific to the individual. I had a handstand push-up before I could handstand very well, like against the wall and stuff, just coming from doing a bit of CrossFit, and I was just strong in the upper body from just lots of overhead pressing and dumbbell work and stuff like that. So I was really strong in the upper body, and I just got short limbs, so it's easier for me to do handstand push-up. Someone else who doesn't have a strength background, a handstand push-up could take quite a while. So it's really hard to say. Yeah, this guy there said 8 months to learn a handstand push-up. So that's like a realistic amount of time. You can get like crow to handstand and things like that pretty quick if you've got good control and confidence in the overbalance. If you're doing things like L sit to shoulder stand and really lean and push into the movement. So like if I try and do a handstand push-up from this position and I push backwards and up, I'm dragging my body up this way, and it's really, really hard to do a handstand push-up. But if I throw myself over and go into overbalance, then it's really easy to do the concentric of the handstand push-up, because I'm putting myself in a position where I start to fall in that direction as I push. So a handstand push-up can be pretty quick if you're confident to go into that position, but obviously there's a risk of back splatting and falling on that. Yeah, and that's what you'll find. You get other people they'll bang out handstand push-ups against the wall, and then it takes them ages to get a freestyle handstand push-up because their balance or their confidence in their hands is just lacking. So if you have a really good balance and a good average amount of strength, you'll probably get one pretty quick. Let's do a kick into one arm again. We'll try more of a slower press type movement. Ooh. It's very, very hot in the garage again. It's good. I want to lose a bit of weight, so sweating it out. But another good example there, the right versus the left. I'm not actually too concerned about getting the left as strong as the right. I just want to have the left consistent. So I mainly do floor blocks. I did mess around with P-bar one arm handstands a little bit. I've got a 10-second one arm on my right once by just doing a few reps of it. So it carries over. I used these white canes for a while. So I got these. This one rotates, so it spins. So I've used those ones, and they've got round handles on as well. So the cool thing with the round handle is when you position yourself back onto them again, you don't have to be perfectly square to the block. So you'll see some circus performers will especially use the round ones for that case, so they can go in at any angle. These are probably my favorite blocks. These are your vowels ones. You can see I've had them for a long time. They're all worn, curved. But they're the smaller ones. I think Yoval does 3 different sizes now. This is the smaller one. You can see I have 2 fingers around the front. Some people have 3 fingers. I wouldn't recommend 1 finger. There's not much control there, but I'd go 2 or 3 fingers. And this is the same block, but a bigger size one. So here's a wider one. I don't have my bigger ones in here. So you can see the surface area is a bit bigger on the bigger block. So that looks like that. That's just a massive block. But they're the main 2 different sizes that I use. You can make your own blocks. The only thing I would be careful of is when you make your own blocks is make the height correct. So when they're on the floor, my finger doesn't touch the floor. It's really annoying if you make thin blocks and then your finger overlaps and it hits the floor. I find that really noisy. Yeah, the big block is like a massive yoga block. Yoval uses it for headstands mainly. So he will head balance on that and have hands out to the side. You can kick up on this as well. It's a bit sketchy, but you can have to warm up to it. But you can see I touch the ceiling there. But you can kick up on there. It's a bit fun. And you can do drills. The other reason that's good as well is you can do drills like this, where you handstand in that position, and then you go to your one arm from there. That's a fun challenge as well. Having the hands really close together is a little bit easier in some ways to go straight to one arm, but there's a bit of a learning curve to have your hands that close. Yeah, the dog's not really interested in my handstands anymore. She just sleeps in the corner, especially when it's this hot. Yeah, no, not really issues with low back pain. I did teach corrective exercise before I got into this, so I'm very aware of like balancing the body with stretches and doing the right thing. I was really stuck in my upper back, so I tended to be like very hunched over naturally. So I had to really open up my thoracic and work for all my mobility. Real tight hamstrings. I was really tucked under to start with. I've never made myself the opposite, trying to correct that, but no real low back pain. And some days I hardly train. I just do a couple of handstands or some demos and stuff. I don't train all the time. I'll try the block walk. So with the block walks, I'm gonna take my hand to move the block out of the way and then put my fingers back down where the block was. Go down onto palms, do the same on the other side. So fingers, palms down. So that's a good way to start that. And then to go back, fingertips. And then you pull that block back where it was, up on to fingertips there, which is hard on that left side for me. So that's good training to get that push. So that was a bit messy, but you get the idea. So coming back up from a deficit, you really need to get up. You can see I've done that quite jerky to get back up on top of the block. So that's a great drill to learn. If you're doing that to start with, I would just learn this part. So either kick it up onto fingertip or just kick up there. Transfer some weight to that left side, get that block out of the way and come back down again. That's just a really good drill to get on both sides, and then start to handstand on the blocks and then walk down, and then you can play with going back up. There is probably some benefit on playing with that on the wall, so you can feel the movement, or in like a push-up position and walking your hands on and off. What is that giant powerlet on the side? This one. This is just a balance rail. So it's just for balancing. So for normal balance type work, I do handstands on them sometimes. My old gym used them for parallel bars. So they would have 2 of them next to each other and put them on boxes to make parallel bars. I don't use them so much now. That's a client's that I've borrowed because she's not using it at the moment. I get the kids to play around. I don't use it too much now. What's your longest one arm handstand? I've done a 54 seconds on my right hand side, and then like a 26 on my left. So that's why the goal is to get that back up and then be able to do a 60 seconds on the right and a 30 seconds on the left. That's the goal this year. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's more that's going to give me the motivation trying to hit those just to train the one arm handstand more. I could try just 2 seconds. Just letting one of the kids in the house. Okay. How to start one arm handstand. So cool. This is a great question. So basically, I do to a one arm handstand is you just want to get used to shifting the body. So you want to understand what the goal is with the one arm. So we want to get the sacrum. So I think the middle of the pelvis on top of the shoulder, on top of the hand. When you do those things, then everything stacks. So it'd be like having the middle of your chest on top of your hip, on top of your hand. So that's the goal. But before we can do that, we need to start to get a little bit more comfortable with doing this with our legs. So if we go into a straddle handstand, you want to make the straddle like airplane wings. And then what we do is just fly the airplane over to one side, fly the airplane over the other side. What we don't want to happen is this, because straight away you're going to topple or spiral out. So if you can just get comfortable, get into the blocks for a second. You can just get comfortable in your straddle to make that one piece. Now I'm pushing my elbows in towards the midline. What we don't want is bend the elbows, because as soon as you try to go this way, you're going to collapse. So pushing the elbows into the midline there, and then I'm just going to tip a little bit that way and tip a little bit that way. So that's all I would do to start with for the one-arm handstand, and do those as part of your warm-up for whatever handstand training you're doing. So that would be level one. I would just do that. If you can do that, then you want to be thinking about shifting a little bit more weight. So what happens then is that center of the hip is going to come on top of the shoulder and the hand. So if my hand and shoulder is here, I want to think about shifting a bit more weight over on top of this shoulder. But the biggest mistake what will happen when you're learning is this shoulder and elbow will carry on going sideways. So then when you try and put your hip on top of the shoulder's now not on top of the hand, and then you collapse into no man's land that way and you just fall out, or you'll collapse inwards because you're just removing the base. So what I do is keep a really strong base and then just move on top of it. So once you've got that position comfortable, where you can go to there, you can go there and add a hold, so there, and then you just shift in a bit more weight, pushing that right elbow into midline, and then see if you can go to fingertips. So that's normally maybe 9 months, 12 months work to get to that point. So it is really those sort of types of timelines to get there, depending on where you're at. Now, when you'll first do that, you'll find that you'll have weight in this hand and still lots of weight in this hand. Ideally, we want to get to the point where there's no weight in this hand. So when you come up to fingertips, there's still no weight in it. You're just using that as balance and there's no real weight in it. And then slowly you just take fingers away. So it decreases the amount of help you're getting from your fingers, as opposed to, 50% of your weight in this hand and still 50% of your weight, and just make your fingers really strong. We want to decrease the weight out of the fingers. Okay, guys, I'm getting up to half an hour. I'll just maybe do one more set on the blocks and then I'll answer any other questions. So it's just like a quick one today. I'm going to go off and do a little bit of strength outside, just do some handstand push-ups. So if there's any other questions, just stick them down now and I'll answer them when I get out of this one-arm handstand. Rosie's making it interesting. So I'll try and kick to one arm over the top of Rosie with the block in the hand. Whoop, no. No, she's put me off. I'll blame her. Oh, that's annoying now, I can't get it. Try and get something on the left. No, it's not there today. Okay, guys, I'm going to sign off now, but if you're watching the recording or if you've got any questions and you're still on, just stick any questions down in the comments and I will come back to them and answer them later. I'm going to keep doing these live videos because they're keeping me accountable for training. It's also really good to see realistic training as opposed to Instagram and stuff like that where we just post the good bits. So you can see what I'm struggling with and then ask questions in real time, which is cool. I'm also considering I'm doing Zoom one-on-ones at the moment. I'm considering doing some Zoom open classes. So maybe do one like on press handstand, one on handstand push-up, one arm handstand, and then like learn into handstand or two arm basics or something. The hardest thing with the Zoom classes is getting a time that works the different time zones well. That's the trickiest part. But I might just have a play with those, put some dates and times up, and then see what interests I get. So let me know if you've got any feedback on times a day and stuff like that, if you'd be interested in the Zoom classes. Yeah, on Discord, that's what I've got to get better at, is trying to find a way of communicating it out and getting feedback from everyone. Cool. Thanks, guys. I will speak to you soon. Drop any more questions. Thanks.